there. Welcome to a higher dimension. I'm Gloria Danvers from Gloria Danvers Hypnosis in Orlando, Florida, and I'm your host for Higher Dimension. As a hypnotherapist, I work with everyday people who are having extraordinary experiences in the fascinating world of past life regression, therapeutic hypnosis, psychic abilities, spiritual awakenings, and paranormal experiences. Join me and my guests every Tuesday morning at 6 a.m. as we explore their powerful stories and extraordinary experiences together. Not only will you hear their stories, but we will also talk about what comes next. What happens after you have this experience? Does it change you? Who are you? What do you know now that you didn't know before? We'll dive into some deep, eye-opening conversations that you won't want to miss. If you're interested in working with me and having your own amazing hypnosis experience, you can contact me at gloriadanvershypnosis.com. If you're here listening to this podcast, chances are you are ready for me. You are ready for this experience. So shoot me an email, book a free consultation. Maybe it's time for you to shake up what you think you know about the world, about yourself, who you've been, who your friends really are, and where you're going. You can catch me on Apple Podcast, Podbean, Podchaser, Spotify, and iHeart.com. But right now, let's just sit back, relax, and uncover the hidden depths of the human experience right here on a higher dimension. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a higher dimension. This is Gloria Danvers from Gloria Danvers Hypnosis in Orlando, Florida, and I'm your host for a higher dimension. As I'm sure you guessed from last week's episode, for the next few weeks, we are going to be exploring psychic phenomena. To use the word psychic is to lump under one umbrella very many different ways of divining the future, of connecting to loved ones in the afterlife, and of helping people find their path by tapping into their own higher dimensions. I am fortunate to live in that world, and so I know many psychics, and they're all different, all manifesting different ways to channel their gifts. You might think that the phenomenon of working with psychics is recent, but it isn't. People have been working with psychics for thousands of years. In fact, there are references in the Bible to psychics and psychic phenomena. In the Old Testament, King Saul went to the witch of Endor, who, side note, was the inspiration for the mother's character of Endora in Bewitched, to channel the prophet Samuel for guidance. King Saul had forbidden those practices in Israel, but he was desperate. Those were hard times. He was at war with the Philistines. He was experiencing a great deal of spiritual and physical upheaval, and he was desperate. As people so often are, when they are desperate, they turn to psychics. The messages that Saul got were not the ones he wanted, but they did come to pass. And the fact that this is written in the Bible shows that consulting necromancers and psychics was a very well-known practice in ancient times. There are other examples in the Bible that talk about divination, such as Joseph and his dreams for Pharaoh, Daniel in the lion pit and his visions, and even the Apostle John with his apocalyptic visions of the future. What is that, if not psychic messages and phenomena? And this is something to remember when you're thinking about psychics. There are certain religions that think psychic readings are demonic, but the same religions accept visions and dreams if they are in line with their own beliefs. So we know that everything is subjective, but at its core, it's all the same. Edgar Cayce, known as the sleeping psychic, was a deeply Christian and religious man. And yet the thousands of medical and historical readings he gave in a sleep-like trance were amazingly accurate and held a worldview of many different cultures, not just his own. Psychics have always been mainstream, And there actually was a psychic named Jean Dixon in the 1950s and 60s who advised several White House administrations. And she actually was known as the White House psychic. She predicted JFK's murder, RFK's murder, and advised Nixon and Reagan as well. She claimed that her predictions came from visions, not psychic ability, but in my opinion, that all springs from the same source. It also brings me to something else. When you go to a psychic and you receive a message, is it written in stone? Or can it be changed by different actions? For example, a psychic can tell you that you may meet a lover soon, but if you never go out of your house and you avoid people, you will probably not meet that lover. So many psychic readings are about what is possible if the right path is taken. It does not mean that you can be non-participatory and think that you're still going to manifest these things. It's also true that if you decide to take a different path, other things will happen. To a large degree, the reading is based on the current situation that you are in the current trajectory that you are on. Anytime you change that situation or trajectory, you change the way that your future plays out. Because remember, we are the planet of free choice. And that is what makes an incarnation difficult and exhilarating at the same time for a soul. As a soul, we choose this incarnation and we set the intention and mission that we want to accomplish. Within the parameters of that, though, we have a lot of movement. Movement to make choices that may or may not further the things that we want to accomplish when we set out to accomplish them in spirit. And what about the psychics themselves? How do they interpret and receive the messages that they give? Some receive a type of knowing, some receive images, some messages come through metaphorically, some can come in through a guide and have a distinctly different voice than your own. Some come in when the psychic is in a trance state. It is not really for the psychic to interpret the message, though some messages are very clear for everyone. Some messages may be specific to a certain person. And in that case, the psychic would not understand it, but the person for whom the reading was intended would certainly understand it. This is the place where trust in their abilities has to overcome their natural desire to interpret the message. When you are working with a psychic, the message is not for the psychic. The messages are for you. And it is important that the psychic is trying to offer the message as it is without interpreting it. In my own particular case, I would call myself clairsentient, which means that the words and the messages just come to me. Most often it is in a conversation or when I'm doing a hypnosis session. When the messages come through to me in a hypnosis session, I just simply incorporate them into the hypnosis, and many of my clients have told me how timely the messages were and how needed they were at that moment. Now, the messages I receive are not from their dead relatives. They're not a prediction of their futures. The messages that come to me are messages from spirit that are of hope and love and grace. And I think sometimes these are the messages that people need most. There are many types of psychics. There are mediums who channel the dead. There are card readers who use the cards as tools to tap into divination. There are energy readers. There are people who channel spirit guides. Then there are readers who go into trance and channel the events that have passed as well as future events. There are psychics that can get readings by holding an object, which is called psychometry. So there are many types of psychic abilities. And as many types of psychic abilities as there are many people who are natural psychics. They might have prophetic dreams. They may have a strong sense of intuition or knowing when something's going to happen. They may have visions of their loved ones who have passed on, or even visions of other people's loved ones who are relatives that have passed on, or visions of people they don't even know. Spirit's funny like that. Psychic ability is nothing to be afraid of. It is a talent, like being an artist or a singer, and I believe as such it should be encouraged and developed like any other talent or gift. There is so much around us, through us, in us, without us, that is unexplained and unexplainable. Dimensions of thought and different realities. Psychics have the ability to tap into those realms, those alternate dimensions. those spaces of interlife. And of course, as with any other gift, it is a choice. If you were to have these gifts and be uncomfortable with them, you don't necessarily have to develop them. You still have free choice like we all do, and you can choose to develop as much or as little as you like. But you should know, and you will see, as you hear me interview some of my guests in the upcoming podcasts, it is still possible to have a very fulfilling human life and be a psychic. If you want to develop your psychic abilities, there are training classes available, such as the ones in Lilydale, which is a famous psychic community in New York. James Van Praagh, who is a very well-known psychic medium, has a highly regarded training module online. And there are many more classes and trainings available. If you're interested in learning how to expand and sharpen your psychic ability, check out different people, different schools, different ways of working with your own psychic gifts. Everyone has something unique to offer. And if you are diligent in your research, you're going to find the right place and the right teachers to start and continue your training. The key is to work with a teacher or training program that aligns with your personal goals, your ethical values, and your natural interests and abilities. When you choose a path that resonates with who you are, you create an environment where your intuitive talents can shine. When you choose a path that resonates with who you are, you create an environment where your intuitive talents can flourish. And as you continue on your journey, remember that developing psychic abilities is as much about self-discovery as it is about learning new techniques. It is a journey to the core of who you are. Embrace the process with an open heart and a curious mind. Celebrate your progress, learn from setbacks, and trust in your own inner wisdom. Whatever psychic path you choose to explore, it is uniquely yours. And every step, no matter how small, is going to bring you closer to a deeper understanding of yourself and the world around you. So thank you very much for joining me in this exploration today. I hope you find the guidance and inspiration you need to unlock the full potential of your psychic gifts. So until next time, stay open, stay curious about whatever may come from a higher dimension. And that's a wrap. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope that I've managed to pique your interest, raise your curiosity, give you something to think about, teach you something that you didn't know before, or send you down a major rabbit hole. If you're curious about what I do, shoot me an email. Go on to my website, gloriadanvers.com, and book a free consultation. Let's discover something about you that you didn't know. I'll be back next week. And until then, stay curious and stay open to all the things that come in for you in a higher dimension.